If a candidate thinks that not paying taxes makes you smart, or that it's good business when people lose their homes, if a candidate regularly and flippantly makes cruel and insulting comments about women, about how we look.
Good evening. Because apparently tonight politics collided head on with high school biology, and biology won by knockout in a moment that felt small on the surface but detonated like a pressure bomb online. Michelle Obama answered a question with calm precision, and the internet watched as Donald Trump unraveled in real time.
Well, right here.
No shouting, no insults, no theatrics,
in 2025
just
already
measured
lots
words,
to cover, so I'm
basic
starting with the
science,
AG.
and timing
I want
so
you to tell me
perfect,
whether or
it
not
felt
it's
rehearsed
lawful
by
or
fate.
lawless,
The result?
ignoring court order.
A slow-motion meltdown that started with one late night post and spiraled into a full-blown digital panic attack.
Won the U.S. Open in Pinehurst, and Bryson has always been a phenomenal ambassador to sports and to golf, but generally to life, in my opinion. He's a smart guy and a good guy, great guy, loves our country. We're also pleased to be joined by Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
When someone reacts that loudly to something they claim is nothing, people don't just listen, they lean in.
Employment,
what made it devastating wasn't aggression, it was restraint. Michelle didn't accuse, speculate wildly,
I had to
or wave
basically
conspiracy
trick myself
flags.
out of it, and it
She
started
explained,
with not
genetics,
having anything to
probability,
wear.
It's about
traits,
women,
the kind of
about how
explanation
we
that sounds
look,
harmless,
how
unless
we
you're
act.
deeply invested in the myth of
I
your
heard
own
about
genetic
fighting for
superiority.
life, and
It was the
so, Mr.
rhetorical
DeBaca,
equivalent of
By the
sliding
way,
a textbook
right at the
across
top of
the
the list.
table
So
and
it's
saying,
great to have you with
let's
us. So I
walk
can
through
say
this
hello to the
together.
family.
And when she gets knocked down, she doesn't complain. She doesn't cry foul. No, she gets back up. Hillary has been a lawyer, a law professor, First Lady of Arkansas, First Lady of the United States, a U.S. Senator, Secretary of State.
And that's when the real story began. Not in what she said, but in what followed. A man who could have ignored it instead chose to engage, repeatedly, loudly, at ungodly hours, turning a passing comment into a self-sustaining spectacle powered entirely by ego and Wi-Fi. Then there was the silence.
Thank you so much, Madam
Cold,
Chair.
calculated, unmistakable.
You know, it's interesting
no
because
statements, no defenses,
I don't know
no
what all
social
is
media
taking
cleanup.
place. A
Just
lot
the
to
kind
cover,
of
so I'm
quiet
starting
that
with the
makes noise
AG.
by existing.
I want you
while
to tell
one
me
side
whether or
flooded
not it's
timelines
lawful
with
or
frantic
lawless.
denials. The other side stepped back and let gravity do the work.
And so when I
The
hear
internet, predictably, filled the vacuum. Memes multiplied.
not just
Threads exploded. Amateur analysts dusted off biology notes they hadn't touched in years. Late night comedy smelled blood. Suddenly, a conversation that could have fizzled in days had legs. Because someone couldn't stop responding. The rule is ancient and undefeated.
Lots
If
to
you
cover,
keep
so I'm
yelling,
starting with the AG.
people assume you're
I
afraid
want you
of
to tell me
something
whether or
and the
not it's
irony.
lawful.
Thanks for this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. It's amazing the way I don't hear any applause for that when everyone feels it.
This wasn't just gossip or drama.
So
It was poetic symmetry. A public figure who spent years questioning other people's legitimacy
That's all. It's
now
very
found
simple.
himself bristling
They
under
have
scrutiny.
been
He couldn't run for it, not because of politics, not because of courts or campaigns, but because of basic science explained without malice. No special counsel, no investigation, just calm words landing exactly where they were guaranteed to hurt. The ego, you could almost feel the shift as people stopped asking, is this true? And started asking, why is he reacting like this? That's the moment. Narratives change.
FBI
and here's the thing.
Headquarters
no one
for,
proved anything.
To skip the inauguration, you know, what people don't realize, or my decision to make choices at the beginning of this year that suited me were met with such ridicule and criticism. Like, people couldn't believe that I was saying no for any other reason, that they had to assume that.
No DNA test.
Well, this was a
no
big one,
final
wasn't it?
answers. That's not the point.
This was a big decision.
The point is exposure.
Man, oh man,
The point
there
is
has
watching
been
someone
so
who
much
thrives on
today,
dominance
and I
lose
truly
control.
don't know
Because the
where-
one weapon he can't bluster
You don't wanna do it,
past,
it'll never work, it'll
evidence,
never, ever work.
was
You don't wanna
introduced
do it. I said,
without
"Listen."
even raising a
But I
voice.
really fired him after
What
it
cracked
became
wasn't a
the number
secret.
one show.
Well, right
It
here.
was an image,
One
the
says
image
farm
of certainty,
bankruptcies
of
in
superiority,
2025 already.
of being
Lots to cover, so I'm
untouchable.
starting
Once
with the
that
AG.
fractures,
I want
everything
you to
else
tell me
follows.
whether or not it's
You don't
lawful
need
or lawless,
conclusions when
ignoring
reactions
court
tell
orders.
the
Thank
story
you very
for you.
much, General. I appreciate
So
it.
here we
I'm
are,
greatly
one calm
honored
explanation,
to host
one
this lunch,
explosive response,
to be
and an
joined by
internet
the
that knows
leaders of
exactly how to read the room.
for a lot of reasons.
This wasn't about genetics.
Man, it's
It
an
wasn't
honor to
even
have
about
you
family. It was about
this very
power.
nice venue
Who has
across
it,
the
who
street.
loses it?
Employment,
And what happens when
including,
composure meets
opportunity
insecurity?
zones with Senator
Michelle
Tim Scott
Obama
of South
didn't
Carolina,
attack. She
which
didn't
is one of
have
the
to.
I had to
She
basically
spoke softly.
trick myself
Let
out
the
of
moment
it, and
breathe
it started with
and watch someone
not
else do
having
all the
anything
damage
to
for
wear.
her.
It's about women.
And that's why this hit so hard.
About how we
Not because of
look,
what was said,
how we
but because
act.
of who couldn't stop talking
I heard about
afterward.
fighting
what
for
Michelle
life,
Obama
and
said
so,
and
Mr.
became
DeBaca,
entirely
I-
about
By
what
the way,
Donald Trump
right at the
couldn't
top of
stop
the list.
doing.
So it's great
Posting,
to have you with us.
explaining,
And say hello to the
defending,
family.
repeating himself with the
Thank you so
frantic
much, Mr.
urgency
Chairman.
of someone arguing with
My
their
first
own
time
reflection.
serving as a
This
ranking
is where
member.
narratives harden.
What is it, Jim?
When confidence responds with calm, it looks like strength.
You mentioned
When confidence
that as-
responds with
Thing I wanna
panic,
do from
it looks
you.
like
And you know,
fear.
we have something
And
else
the
called
internet,
favored
ruthless
nations,
as
where
ever,
we're gonna be
knows
reducing
how to
drug
tell the
prices
difference.
by 1,000%.
What truly
So much,
sealed it was
Madam Chair.
contrast. On one
you know, it's
side,
interesting
precision,
because,
composure,
I
and a
don't
tone
know
that
what all is
suggested this
taking
wasn't
place.
personal.
A
It
lot
was
to cover, so I'm
informational.
starting
On
with
the
the
other,
AG.
volume,
I want you to
repetition,
tell me whether or
grievance,
not
and an
it's lawful
insistence
or
that
lawless.
everyone else was lying. The
And
louder
so-
the defense got, the more people asked the question
so when I
no
hear-
one could ignore anymore. If this is so ridiculous, why is it
not
taking
just-
up so much energy? That's the trap of overreaction.
Thank you for
Once you fall
being
into
with
it,
us, and I-
every attempt to climb out only proves how deep you are. You don't extinguish curiosity by feeding it outrage. You don't
Get a
kill
little bit lucky
speculation
with
by
some of
giving it
the,
oxygen.
numbers and
And yet,
economies
the
into the
cycle
future.
repeated.
A lot to cover, so I'm
Because
starting with the
restraint
AG.
has never been his
I want
strong
you to tell
suit.
me whether or not it's
Then came
lawful.
meta.
It's amazing the way I don't hear any
People
applause for
stopped
that when
debating
everyone
facts and
feels it.
started analyzing behavior. Body
It's a
language,
90s
timing, impulse control. Why
Well, they
one
have to
side trusted
pay
silence
fair
while the other feared
rate.
it.
It's all. It's
Why
very simple.
one person let the
They
moment pass
have been.
while the other tried to wrestle it into submission. This wasn't a courtroom. It was a credibility test. And credibility isn't built by force. It's built by consistency. That's why the reaction mattered more than the remark. That's
thank
why
you very
memes
much.
landed harder than
Incredible,
arguments.
including
Because humor
what took
thrives
place
where
in
confidence
Iran,
cracks, and the
knocking
internet
out,
sensed blood in the water. And
potential
zoom out far
nuclear
enough,
power for
and the symbolism becomes impossible to miss.
FBI
This wasn't just a media moment.
Headquarters
It was a
there
character
for,
study, a reminder that power doesn't
Well, this
always
was a big
shout.
one, wasn't it?
Sometimes it explains.
This was a big
Sometimes
decision.
it waits. Sometimes it
Man,
lets
oh
the
man,
other
there's
person
been
reveal
so
everything you
much
need to know,
today,
all
and
by
I truly
themselves.
don't know where.
Michelle Obama didn't
You don't wanna
escalate.
do it, it'll never work,
She
it'll
didn't
never,
double
ever
down.
work. You don't wanna do
She
it. I said,
didn't
"Listen."
chase attention.
But I really
She said her
fired him
piece
after it
and moved
became
on,
the number one show.
leaving behind
Well,
a
right here.
vacuum filled by
One
someone else's
says farm
need to control the
bankruptcies in
story.
2020